Hey everybody, this is Scott Flanders with another lesson from the Character Design Monster Lab. This critique video is all about utilizing the constraints of empty space on your page to influence your design choices and create more unique forms. To check out even more critiques like this and to beef up your monster design skills, head over to proko.com/monsterlab to get the premium course. It has a lot more lessons, demos, assignments, and critiques to help you become a better concept designer. Okay, now let's jump in.
Okay, we have Blaise Chambers. That's a cool name, dude. That's like a superhero name. Blaise Chambers. Cool, man. I went with the fisherman route. It got pretty wild. I really liked the idea of having a chum monster, a revenge of the sea type of thing. Yeah, I remember commenting on that chum bucket. That was a funny name, dude. These are pretty good. Like, majority of these, I'd say, are like pretty successful just as, explorations on ideas. Again, I think you could probably do with more. You notice there's a lot of negative space in here. What I might usually think of as like non-ideal spaces to work or develop the character in, I'll purposely make use of that negative space to draw an iteration inside of. And like basically all this negative space in here, you see like all this open white. It's nice for presentation, but I actually want to like fill this thing up. Like I actually want to make use of all that space. You might as well. And sometimes it forces me to draw in ways to explore shapes that I might not have come up with if left to my own devices. And so it's sort of this like dynamic tension between intent to explore something with a shape and also improvising based upon the space I have available to me. Maybe I should show you an example really quick. Yeah, maybe, probably. This is an easier thing to show than to talk about. So, for example, I have this space here. There's some space here around these words. And let's say I was going to try to draw in this space. If I'm going to try to make a character that fits in this space. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm making use of this. I'm reacting initially to the space I had available here. I've already kind of broken outside of it. But if the constraint is important, I can keep it. Because then you can do that everywhere. You can find weird spots. Sometimes it'll force me to draw a character like very small, make use of a space like this. It's very similar to an exercise both TB Choi and Espen have shared like online before with you guys, where you just draw a bunch of random shapes at the beginning. It's a really good exercise. As far as drawing from imagination and pushing shapes, it's something I used to do all the time when I was in art school. Somewhat unconsciously, like I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just like screwing around making weird faces, but it ended up being a very useful exercise. It looks stupid, but I'm hoping you get the point. You take a shape, I take a shape. It looks so silly, dude. It looks like a testicle, like a droopy testicle man. You must play the fool in order to become the king. I'm basically just doing like a kind of extremely silly Hellboy. Don't show Mike Mignola. Before you start doing things like this, like experimenting in this way with shapes, it's likely you're going to find yourself at these continuous crossroads that are natural to encounter. You're going to find yourself like needing to know, like, how do I draw children? If you're someone's primarily, get a lot of experience drawing monsters and creatures and heroic people, whatever, superheroes, sci-fi guys and robots. Eventually, you may encounter a problem you're not used to. You haven't encountered before. Like how do I draw a preteen girl? How do I draw a stuffed animal monster? A stuffed animal wizard? How do I draw a car? The more complex part of that, or more fun part of that actually too, is how do I draw these things in a way that is consistent, stylistically consistent with the work I've done before? Now, how do I put it through a filter of my own personal vision or art direction? It's an interesting exercise to try to find the way to bring these different subject matters sort of like under the same roof. They look like it's all created by the same artist. There was a time when I was younger when I was thinking of trying to do a comic book. I came across this exact problem. It's like, yeah, you like to do these crazy monsters and stuff, but your primary characters are like kids. And I'm really influenced by like Calvin and Hobbes and Disney Pixar movies. I like my kids to look goofy and dumb. I like them to look like Paranorman or something. I like those goofy kind of those like messed up ears. Like that's my favorite kind of little kid is, they have, this kind of look, funny papers characters, like little silly guys. That's pretty different from like evolved cyborg mutant monster things. I had to try to figure out like, how does this make sense? How can I bring these things together? And it's like a difficult thing to pinpoint, like how to do. In some ways, just doing the things will actually provide the answer. Like if you've ever seen, there's a really cool comic book, Bone by Jeff Smith. It's kind of a big, well-known. And I found it really inspiring because he did this exact thing. Where Bone looks like a character out of the Sunday morning, the funny papers like Family Circus or something. And, the main heroine looks like a Disney princess. And the monsters look like they're from a Ralph Bakshi film or something. It's different stuff, but somehow it all exists under the same umbrella. And it feels cohesive. That's part of the charm, is the fact that he's able to bring these different things together into the same world. I think the best way to figure that kind of thing out is to go do it. Do little experiments like this. How do I handle ears on my little kids? How do I handle noses? How do I handle eyes? Do I show the pupil? That's part of stylization. It's a language that you have to learn. And true like individual stylization, that definitely is going to come through a lot of experimentation. You can learn it secondhand. You go look at, it's like the anime trend stuff, right? It's like you go look at certain films and manga, and then you can figure out, on Instagram, you can see, okay, this is a way that such and such artist I admire handles eyes, handles hair, handles highlights, handles soft edges, etc. But really, you can apply that to anything. How do I handle manes? How do I handle claws? How do I handle hands? How do I handle weapons? All that stuff. These simple exercises where you're drawing from imagination, where you're dealing with constraints of space. You force yourself to explore shapes that you might not always, like this is somewhat spontaneously created right here, this shape right now, And then I have to, now that the first initial statement has been made, the conversation has now begun. It's been kicked off. Now I can start responding to the art and to the shapes. Everything from like even VFX, like how you're going to handle, like I used to practice how I'm going to handle smoke, coming out of a pipe. Like I practice that stuff. Practice like how are you going to handle grass, shapes of grass, leaves on a tree. And it's up to you, like how much realism you want to employ. That's part of what voice, though all those decisions collectively are what equate to voice, what we refer to as like voice and style. All these little small choices that add up. Good thing to try. And you can do it in pencil. Like you can definitely do it in pencil. You could do it on your tablet. But highly recommend. Basically, it's the drawing goofy faces exercise. Go draw a bunch of strange, oblong, squash, smushed, pinched ellipses, and then convert those into characters. They don't always have to be ellipses, right? But that tends to work well for heads as the exercise. But see how far you can go while maintaining some amount of like consistency in the work. Like do these. Is there a way you can make these dramatically different head shapes feel like they belong in the same world? If not, that's okay. If so, cool, because now you've basically added like another tool to your toolkit. Nice job, Blaise. These were pretty good. But again, recommend just go back in again. Give it another try. And one last thing I wanted to mention initially when I opened these. I noticed a lot of your approach to line work, to just line quality and angles, shapes, is it's essentially like a lot of soft lines, a lot of curving lines. Only a couple places where I get like hard right angles and spikes, maybe on this guy's shoulders. But in general, a lot of the shapes feel kind of like lumpy, at the risk of sounding like a jerk. I don't really mean to be, but they actually just do feel a little lumpy. And I mentioned earlier in the critique video the importance of contrast as an idea, as a general guideline principle to guide you through the art making process, the entire art making process, your whole life as a creative person. Contrast as a tool to help draw the eye, to help focus attention for the viewer, whoever's experiencing whatever you've created. And that same idea of contrast applies to your shapes, to your outer edges. That's part of the reason why I have you fill it in, right? And focus less on the interior information, because interior information is in some ways distracting you from being really critical of your outside of your silhouette. Ultimately, good job here.
All right, thanks everyone. And be sure to check out the full course at proko.com/monsterlab, where you can submit your assignments to the community. We've got tons of people submitting awesome designs and critiquing each other's work. And there's still time to submit the next assignment for a chance to be a part of the upcoming video critique. Okay, see you all next time. Bye-bye.